Hey, Algebra, Mr. Catlin here with your cool down help for today. So we're going to jump right in with lesson 20. It was on your homework last week. So if you did it, you might already have an idea what this should be, and you can check it with this video if you need to, or you can just copy down on this week's assignment. But we're writing and solving inequalities in one variable. So there's only going to be one unknown. And Lynn has this job that pays $8.25 an hour. So we're expecting to see 8.25 times x, or whatever our variable is, plus $10 for transportation allowance each week. She has to work at least 5 hours a week to keep the job and can earn up to $175 per week, including the allowance. So represent this situation mathematically. If you use variables, specify what each one means. So I'm going to start off with a variable and say that x is my variable, and it represents the amount of hours that Lynn works. So x is hours worked, and make a bunch of scribble marks. Apparently, sorry about that. Let me erase. Now that I know how much she works, and that's called x, we can write a couple of constraints. Let's start with the constraint of x needs to be at least, so that means greater or equal to 5. Got to have that, right? And then let's write another equation or inequality, that talks about the constraint of what x needs to be less than. So x needs to stay under a certain amount because she can only earn up to $175 a week. So to represent that, we need to put x in terms of money. And x in terms of money would be I get paid $8.25 per hour, added with my $10 allowance. I need to keep that under or equal to up to $175. That would look like that. So that inequality would represent the keeping under 175. And then this inequality, like we talked about before, would keep it constrained to I've got to work at least 5 hours. So we could actually put both of those in terms of money. If we take this and plug in a 5, we could find out what that amount needs to be. So we could say, okay, 8.25 times 5, which gives us 10, 12, carry the 1, 41. $41.25 plus the $10 for the allowance, right? Would give me 51.25. So that's kind of like our bottom number. So we could say that when you do all of this, if you keep it less than, you keep this greater than. I need to turn that around and do that. The amount that I work and get paid needs to be bigger than 51.25. Like we could write that as one big long inequality. I need to be making between 51.25, that's working at least 5 hours, and 175, which we don't know what that is right now, but that's mathematically representing this situation. I need to be constrained in between that maximum and that minimum, with x being greater than or equal to 5 is what created that minimum. And then how many hours per week can Lynn work? Well, we know that she can work 5. We need to find the upper range. So to find that upper range, we have to solve this equation. 8.25x plus 10 is equal to 175. We find that upper range. So our first step would be to subtract 10 away from both sides, which would give us this as our next step. And then to find x, we need to find the quotient of 165 and 8.25 because they're multiplying by it, and we need to divide by it. So 165 divided by 8.25. As I pull up the scientific calculator for Desmos, that's the one that I'm going to use. You don't want to use the graphing calculator on this one, obviously, but it is taking its sweet time in loading. So while it does that, I will grab my handheld calculator and maybe really don't want to work that one out on paper for time purposes, but the amount of time that this is taking, it might be faster. I think it's getting there. It appears. Okay, so 165. Wow. Not sure what's happening there. Desmos is not having a good day. Still acting weird. Love that this is happening during the middle of the video that's already like 5 minutes in. let's do this. Let me go. I'll be right back. Calculator off of another desk. Okay, so 165 divided by 8 1/4 gives me a nice round 20. I probably could have done that in my head. Sorry, it took that long. Okay, so going back to our answer, x has to be 20. All right, and we already talked about it needs to be under that. So our final answer for this would be that the amount of hours worked, x, needs to stay under or equal to 20. So she stays under that 175 limit like we solved for just then. Or also, it needs to stay bigger or equal to the 5 hour minimum. So she needs to work anywhere from 5 to 20 hours. Our explanation, our reasoning, I feel like is over here. And this is our final answer for that one. I would accept something long like this or just the right half and that separated. That would have been fine. But that is your lesson 20. You guys have a good one.